Greetings. Good morning. I have a brief comment, and then General Myers has some remarks. As a country, we've lost thousands of innocent civilians on September 11th, and certainly our country and the people of our country understand what it means to lose fathers and mothers and sons and daughters, and brothers and sisters. I think it's useful to remind ourselves that the Taliban and the Al-Qaeda made a practice of doing harm and repressing the Afghan people. And those who perpetrated these crimes against their own people are no longer in power. Hundreds are in detention, and they will have to answer for their crimes. General Myers.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary, and good morning again. I'd like to follow up with the status on the Zawahiri strike from last week. The material we found around the site is being sent back to the United States for analysis. The search team was able to locate what we think was the exact impact point of the missile, and then the team cleared snow around that site out to 200 yards. There was anywhere from a foot to 3 to 4 feet of snow that had to be cleared. And I think yesterday Admiral Stufflebeam gave you a list of the type of material that they took from that site. And as I said before, that's currently being sent back to the United States for analysis. Our team has left that site, but we'll continue to surveil that particular site in the region for some time to come. And with that, we'll take your questions.
Charlie?
Mr. Secretary, speaking of Admiral Stufflebeam, he lamented yesterday that this war has turned into what he called a shadow war. Are you worried that this is turning into some kind of public relations disaster where the headlines in the newspapers, the preponderance of them, are on mistakes rather than accomplishments?
Well, I mean, the first thing one has to say is that anytime there is a suggestion that U.S. forces have, as you characterized it, made a mistake, it is something that we take very seriously as a country, and certainly the armed forces and the Pentagon do. An attack was inappropriate, or that some innocent person was killed or injured. Obviously, anyone would be concerned about that.
Add a little something to that. You know, I think the Secretary and I would we are anxious to share some of these successes with you. The problem is that once you do that, then the tactics and the techniques and the procedures that are being used in this very difficult mission of locating leadership and other pockets of Al-Qaeda or Taliban, once we tell you how successful we've been, then we will reveal those tactics, techniques, and procedures, and sometimes they're easy to thwart. And so that's why we have to be very careful. This is an ongoing operation, if you will, and we've just got to be very, very careful. The second thing I'd say, that no matter how these investigations turn out, as some of you know, because you've been in the field with our forces, they are the most professional and disciplined forces there are. They make life and death decisions when they come upon this group, these two compounds where we had the 27 detainees and the 15 that were killed. Some of those detainees could have easily been killed. They were armed. The rules of engagement permit you to shoot back. And the fact that they were detained and not killed, I think, is an indication of just how professional and disciplined and dedicated our folks are. Now, if there were mistakes made, we're going to find that out when General Franks finishes his investigation. But I think the American people need to know that we have the best forces in the world, the best trained forces, who are making these decisions, and 99.9% of the time make them exactly right.
Let me elaborate, Charlie, on your question, because when you ask the question, are you concerned, there's always a risk if one says they're not concerned. Yes.
Could I follow up, Mr. Secretary, on what you just said, please? In regard to Iraq weapons of mass destruction and terrorists, is there any evidence to indicate that Iraq has attempted to or is willing to supply terrorist with weapons of mass destruction? Because there are reports that there is no evidence of a direct link between Baghdad and some of these terrorist organizations.
Reports that say that something hasn't happened are always interesting to me, because as we know, there are known knowns. There are things we know. We also know there are known unknowns. That is to say, we know there are some things we do not know. But there are also unknown unknowns. The ones we don't know, we don't know. And if one looks throughout the history of our country and other free countries, it is the latter category that tend to be the difficult ones. And so people who have the omniscience that they can say with high certainty that something has not happened or is not being tried, have capabilities that are what was the word you used, Pam, earlier? Yeah, they can do things I can't do, Barbara.
Excuse me, but is this an unknown unknown?
I'm not.
Several unknowns, and I'm just
I'm
wondering.
not going to say which it is.
Mr. Secretary, if you
No,
believe,
I'm right here.
if you believe
I'm right
something,
here.
but just
I'm
a
right here.
point of
No,
clarification.
this is a promise.
I think under
I
Robert's
owe it to her.
rules, the point of,
I just want to ask a real bottom line question, and many apologies for taking you back to Zawakili one last time, but you mentioned here a couple of times that incident is now under investigation and cited that the team went up there for that reason.
This is to the three
That's right.
individuals,
But of course, the team went up there when people from this podium were saying it was definitely what you believe to be senior al-Qaeda, and you were simply going there to find out which al-Qaeda. So what is
I
it?
don't know that.
Are you investigating it? Is the CIA investigating it?
No, I'm
you've
not.
mentioned
Goodness,
an
no. This is something that CENTCOM has decided and done, and properly so.
So what is it that CENTCOM is now investigating in regards to Zawakili?
I don't know that. I don't know what the right word is. I know that when I know you're correct. There was an interest in getting some positive identification, if that were possible. Said that interrogations have produced information, and indeed, in this instance, produced some of the evidence that led to the decision by the Department of Justice.
No, I'm sticking with the. Thank you. Nice try.